In the unseen depths where light dares not venture, ancient and unfathomable beings weave the currents of power and memory. Before the rise of gods and empires, these primordial entities ruled with minds vast and calculating, holding knowledge that predates the stars. Even now, in the cold, dark waters and shadowed corners of reality, their gaze lingers, patient and ever watchful. Today, we descend into the murky under recesses to uncover the secrets of one of the most enigmatic creatures to exist, the Aboleth. We will delve into their timeless history, anatomy, magic, and cities. Most races maintain as part of their culture elaborate creation myths, stories they pass down through the generations with great respect, for these myths tell of how their race came to be. Often, one race's creation myths are at odds with another's, but this is of little concern, since a conflicting tale can easily be discounted as sheer fabrication. Not all races have creation myths. The Aboleths do not share myth stories for a simple reason. They believe it an indisputable fact that they were the first, the primal race that existed before nearly all else, second only to the unknowable elder evils that spawned them. They know this because they remember the ancient past with crystal clarity. All else in the world is a pale imitation of their primal perfection. Even deities themselves are subject to derision, for the Aboleths know that they predate the gods. They have seen the world destroyed countless times by apocalypses, both natural and artificial. Yet each time, the world remade itself and the Aboleths survived. Aboleths are characterized by their ancient nature. They remember the rise and fall of countless nations, the foundation of the first religions, the formation of mountain ranges, and the creation of the seas themselves. They have had more time to build their empires than any other race. These empires rise and fall on a geologic scale through the eons. They are primal forces, unknowable to anything but their own kind. There can be no accounting of the history of the Aboleth race. The creatures have existed for millions of years, and any chronicle of their history with even a small level of detail would require a tome thousands of pages in length. To understand the source of the Aboleth race, one must first realize that other entities existed long before the Aboleths themselves. Their goals and desires were alien and unknowable to all. Yet they did exist in the spaces between reality and possibility. These were the Elder Evils. The Elder Evil, known as the Blood Queen, formed them as a mere byproduct of the interaction between her body and the material world. Yet this concept does not trouble the Aboleth. If anything, it has liberated them. They are free to make their own progress through existence without fear of reprisal or desire to please. Since their inception, Aboleths have founded countless empires in the watery reaches of the world. Their first empire remains their longest-lived and most expansive. Built when the world itself was a barren rock of boiling seas and choking skies, this empire spanned the countless worlds. What precisely destroyed the primal empire is known only to the Aboleths, and they do not speak of it, even among themselves. Scribes have certain theories relating to a natural disaster that struck, or that perhaps the Aboleths turned on themselves in a fit of self-destruction, or perhaps the Blood Queen or another of the Elder Evils returned and wreaked unimaginable devastation. One popular theory holds that the slave races under the Aboleths developed something new over those millions of years, something the Aboleths had no prior experience with, and were thus wholly unprepared to defend against. This theory claims that the slave races developed faith and found that there were creatures above the Aboleths, creatures with power even more awe-inspiring, divine intervention. Whatever the cause of it, the primal empire's devastation was not quite complete. Ruins of the empire survived here and there, terrible structures founded on vile and unclean geometric principles. The growth and decline of the Aboleth race is spread over such vast periods of time that it is akin to the observation of events on a geologic scale. A pessimist believes that the Aboleths are still building their forces and preparing for an assault on the world, while an optimist sees they are again in decline. Whatever the truth, it is unlikely that the Aboleth race will see any change in activity over the new few thousand years, biding their time until their master plan comes to fruition. Superficially, an Aboleth resembles a fish, yet it takes only a few moments of observation to realize that an Aboleth is something else entirely, not fish, nor squid, nor boneless deep-sea predator, but something that combines elements of all three. An average Aboleth measures 20 feet long and weighs 6,000 pounds, although many live to grow much larger. The largest Aboleth encountered by reputable adventurers measure just over 40 feet long, but certainly even larger specimens lurk in the deepest reaches of the Underdark and far realm. Their streamlined shape efficiently slithers through the primeval seas of the ancient past, as well as through the contemporary underground seas. Perhaps the most distinctive of an Aboleth's features are its 4 tentacles. Used primarily to capture, subdue, and transform prey and slaves, they serve the creature as a means of locomotion when out of the water. The powerful tentacles grab nearby surfaces and literally drag the creature's writhing bulk along behind. Each tentacle is little more than a powerful coil of muscles wrapped in a sheath of mucous membrane. Down the length of each tentacle runs a single primary duct, as well as countless capillary ducts that transport the specialized slime created in its milithas to the tentacle surface. The creature uses this toxic slime to transform captured victims into creatures more able to serve its watery lair. An Aboleth swims, using powerful strokes of its tail while holding its tentacles up against the side of its body. The creature possesses numerous fins to stabilize and guide its motion. A swimming Aboleth looks more like a snake than a fish, so sinuous and fluid is the motion of its tail and body. The creature's mouth is a unique organ. When closed, little is visible beyond a pale white pucker, no more than a few inches across. It opens with shocking speed when the creature feeds. Fully opened, the mouth resembles an equilateral triangle about 2 feet wide on a side. At each corner, a long, thin stalk tipped with a bony spike extends outward. The inner walls of an Aboleth's mouth are studded with thousands of tiny serrated teeth. The 3 bony stalks are used to collect food and push it into the mouth, which then constricts and shreds the food into easily swallowed ribbons. Despite its fantastic amount of teeth, there is no natural bite functionality. Its feeding mandibles and teeth are too small and weak to be used in combat. Along the creature's flanks are twin sets of large orifices, each of which can open as wide as 2 feet. On a more natural creature, they might be called nostrils. An Aboleth uses these vents to breathe, smell, speak, and expel mucus into the surrounding area. On land, this mucus provides a slimy bed of ooze that allows the creature to slither about more easily. In water, the mucus transforms the liquid around the creature into a cloud of soupy slime. An Aboleth's senses are roughly equal to that of a human's, with the exception of its eyesight. An Aboleth's 3 eyes see as well as a human's in bright light, but in complete darkness, they possess a complete unrestricted view of their surroundings. All 3 eyes appear as little more than large red ovals, with no iris or pupil visible. Scents are detected through ventral orifices, and sound is detected by feeling the vibrations in the air, or water upon its skin. In effect, the creature's skin acts as a huge eardrum. The most highly developed of an Aboleth's organs is its central nervous system, in particular, its brain. An Aboleth's brain is a massive structure that accounts for nearly 1/5 of the creature's body mass. The brain is various shades of purple and looks somewhat similar in shape to an Aboleth, without its long tail. Located at the front of the brain is a cone-shaped lobe covered with thousands of tiny, horn-like protrusions. This lobe has two primary functions. First, it generates an Aboleth's powerful enslaving mental attack. Secondly, it functions as a telepathic core that enables the creature to converse with its enslaved minions, while preventing the minions from sensing anything in the Aboleth's mind other than its unyielding domination and control. The dorsal lobe is the most visually stunning. Located behind the primary lobe, it consists of a writhing mass of purple tendrils with tips that flash and pulse with multicolored light. The light arcs and dances from one tendril to the other, representing the vast stores of psionic and magical energy at an Aboleth's command. This energy is apparently generated by the dorsal lobe and focused by the primary lobe to create the numerous illusions that Aboleths are notorious for using. Those who have had mental contact with an Aboleth's mind tell of a powerful and alien intellect, both in vast size and horrifying in scope. Most amazing is the vast racial memory. While one Aboleth has no direct access to the personal memories of any other, its own memories are handed down completely intact through the generations. A pair of Aboleths can easily determine how they are related if they examine their memories far enough into the past. These memories are legion and redate those of all other races. Mere access to such a vast wealth of memories would quickly and irrevocably drive human minds insane. But Aboleths do not have humanoid minds. It takes time for them to retrieve specific bits of information from their memories. Aboleths take great joy from simply wading through their racial memories and can spend years observing just the memories of one or two ancestors. Scribes and clerics find it profoundly disturbing that these memories extend back further than most creation myths. They argue that the so-called memories are nothing more than Aboleth lies, or an exaggeration spread by humanoids who can't fully understand the aberrant mind. The Aboleths themselves don't flaunt their racial memories, which some observers interpret as evidence that such memories do exist. Although they have existed for untold eons, the shape and function of their bodies has not evolved as much as one would expect over time. This might be due to the fact that their racial memories somehow serve to stagnate their development by encouraging them to conform to the past. Or it might be simply that their current form represents the pinnacle of perfection for their kind, and that any further adaptation or evolution would be nothing more than regression. Yet, a few alternative forms of Aboleths exist, having arisen as the creatures expanded into new terrains and were forced to change as a result. The most exotic and unusual Aboleth variant is the reclusive Uobolith, or aerial Aboleth, as they are known to the few who have encountered them. These variants look similar to an Aboleth in shape, except that its tail has no flukes and its coloration is a deeper green-blue. This variant of the Aboleth is able to fly and dwell in high clouds alone with their unknowable thought, and they seldom take slaves. They make their homes inside vast, perpetual clouds filled with dense moisture and maintained by their ancient magic. Eons ago, a large city of exceptionally gargantuan Aboleths managed an amazing feat of magic and transported an entire world of slaves and minions from the material plane to the 9 hells. They arrived on the layer known as Stygia and flourished. Since that time, the influence of the 9 hells has changed these Aboleths, infusing them with the frozen evil magic of this layer and creating an entirely new species. These Stygian Aboleths rule nations of aquatic Batezu and slaves culled from countless worlds and planes. In time, these Aboleths might transform fully into a new kind of devil. Aboleths constantly search for new magic items, finding them to be among the few objects that lesser races are any good at producing. They enslave a spellcasting creature to produce these commodities for their own insidious designs. A slave who can create these items is perhaps the most valued of resources in their cities and is rented out to other Aboleths for extensive payments of additional slaves or favors. Aside from specialized glyphs, Aboleth spellcasters also spend their resources on creating new magic items for themselves. although only a rare few Aboleths use or have access to divine magic, as their hatred for this form of magic extends well back through the eons of their history. Aboleths often learn how to construct magical glyphs. This knowledge and power allows differing designs that they position within the confines of their domains. This could range from any creature moving past a glyph to have its lungs instantly filled with water, to twisting the minds of humanoids and their perceptions of law and order, to complete domination of the humanoid's mind. With their ability to enslave other creatures, Aboleths are never without slaves to guard their lairs, provide entertainment, or otherwise serve their needs. The variety of these slaves and minions depend primarily on what kinds of creatures are native to its lair. An Aboleth dwelling near a deep gnome city may have dozens of these slaves. An Aboleth lurking below a hidden ledge or lake in the middle of a humanoid city may have any number of humans, halflings, dwarves, elves, and gnomes to serve its needs. These slaves are divided between assassins, entertainers, procurers, and guardians, as befits each minion's strengths and weaknesses. However, none are as so iconic as the scum. Created from human stock, these amphibious humanoids are bred for their strength and combat skills. The number of scum and Aboleth commands is an excellent indication of that Aboleth standing in its society. Aboleth cities are truly alien and terrifying places, wholly primeval in feeling and offensive to those used to structures with hard edges, straight lines, and subdued colours. Aboleth cities are built completely underwater. This underwater decision helps as the waters support the buildings. The towers and spires can be of a much greater magnitude than anything on the surface. These towers feature numerous tunnels and openings to allow water currents to flow around, and through them to prevent collapse. Aboleth cities can be raised from the seafloor by the will of the city's rulers, either through the use of powerful spells or a magic device. The cities then drift through the depths of the sea, or rise to the surface and float like horrific islands. The buildings are made of stone, built with the aid of a magic-like stone shape, but sometimes constructed with talented and well-directed slave labour. Aboleth buildings might be composed of brooding, drooping shapes that looked melted or cancerous, or they might be towering, thin spires with multiple twisted crenellations and jagged spikes. Altogether, these sites look like discarded shells from massive prehistoric shellfish scattered upon the ocean floor. The disturbing and alien architectural styles found in an Aboleth city are typically direct influences copied from their memories of the primal empire. But in the case of the largest and most secluded cities, these buildings might incorporate actual structures that have survived from the primal empire to the modern age. These buildings seethe with a sense of brooding history, and damaging them is viewed as the greatest offense possible to the Aboleth race. Each Aboleth typically lives in a building far larger than it needs, because the lower reaches are reserved for its slaves. Small cities have only one leader, while in larger cities, several Aboleths might work together as a council. Although the Aboleths see themselves as the rightful rulers of creation, they are all logical and realistic. They have come to accept the fact that the world is a crowded place, at least compared to the way it was during the primal empire of ages past. These new, powerful races would pose a significant threat to the Aboleths were they simply to attack. The Aboleths are now primarily a race that dwells in the farthest reaches of the flooded underground or in the lightless trenches of the deepest oceans. These haunts severely limit the number and variety of races the Aboleths interact with on a regular basis. The Drow, one of the most numerous and successful of the underground races, find themselves regularly coming into contact with the Aboleths or their allies. Usually, these meetings result in warfare, but an increasing number of Aboleths and Drow find a strangely comfortable connection in the veneration of Gornador. Aboleths make alliances with Illithids more often than with any other lesser race, for two reasons. First, the Aboleths and the Illithids have similar mindsets. They are coldly logical, emotionless, and constantly hungry for knowledge. In addition, the Illithids view all other races as little more than fodder or slaves, a viewpoint the Aboleths naturally identify with. Second, the inscrutable mind flayers are the race that Aboleths come the closest to fearing. They do not remember the genesis of the Illithid race, not even in their racial memories. As far as the Aboleths know, the Illithids simply appeared from nowhere, and that makes them an unknown. One of the most insidious marks left by the Aboleths on Faerun was the rise and fall of the Kulkor Zul, the ancient kingdom of the Illithiri, predecessors to the Drow. Through subtle manipulations, the Aboleths turned the once proud Dark Elves into pawns of chaos, steering them toward destruction and their eventual exile into the Underdark. Though they did not rule directly, their whispers guided the Illithiri to act as instruments of their dark will. Even the gods themselves have been thwarted by the Aboleths' cunning. The creation of the Alhun, Illithids who defy death by becoming liches, bears their fingerprints. It is whispered in forbidden texts that it was Aboleths who first planted the seeds of this heretical practice among the mind flayers, ensuring the proliferation of unholy knowledge that even the gods could not easily unmake. But for all their terrifying power, the Aboleths are not without their flaws. Their greatest strength, their unbroken memory of existence, also anchors them to the past. They cannot forget, cannot forgive, and their inability to adapt to new paradigms has cost them dearly in the face of divine intervention and the rise of mortal civilizations. An Aboleth out of its aquatic domain is vulnerable, its skin drying into a viscous, slimy mass that leaves it weaker and in agony. This reliance on water acts as a natural barrier to their expansion into certain regions of the material plane. While their psychic dominance is nearly unparalleled, it is not absolute. Minds shielded by powerful magic or divine intervention can resist their influence. The Aboleth's connection to the far realm is as ancient as it is enigmatic. While much of their history is rooted in the prime material plane, their origins, or at least a fragment of their nature, seem intrinsically tied to this alien dimension of chaos and madness. Some scribes theorize that the Aboleths were the far realm's first explorers, entities that ventured into the material plane before time and space solidified into their current forms. Others believe they are remnants of the far realm itself, beings expelled or abandoned when the gods imposed order on the cosmos. The influence of the far realm is most evident in the Aboleths' alien biology and their psionic power, which shares eerie parallels with the aberrant entities that dwell in that otherworldly realm. Their memories, eternal and unbroken, may even predate their material existence, holding echoes of truths from the far realm that mortal minds cannot grasp. One of the most tantalizing legends surrounding the Aboleths and the far realm involves their supposed role as architects of the boundary between planes. Some texts hint that the Aboleths were instrumental in erecting the barriers that now separate the far realm from the rest of existence, though whether this was an act of defiance, desperation, or mere survival remains unclear. If true, this would explain their undying hatred for the gods and their ceaseless ambition to reclaim their primordial dominion. Even now, whispers persist of Aboleths conducting experiments to weaken these barriers. Through rituals incomprehensible to mortal minds, they attempt to open rifts between the far realm and the material plane, inviting chaos and madness back into the ordered world. These efforts are not just acts of conquest, but of vengeance, a calculated strike against the gods who dared to impose limits on beings that remember a time when there were none. The Aboleths are threads in the fabric of a world shaped by forces both divine and profane. Their story begins with a primal empire, ruled by the tides and the memories of the Blood Queen, a time when mortal life was shackled by their psychic chains and gods held no sway. Their form is a testament to their alien perfection, creatures of flesh and thought, whose bodies merge the organic with the incomprehensible. They are not shaped by evolution, but by a design older and more deliberate than nature itself. Their legacy continues in their manipulation of magic and minds. The Illithids, aberrations with ambitions of their own, cause fear and doubt with the greatest of Aboleth minds. Knowledge passed, secrets shared, and rivalries born, all weave a complex tapestry of power and betrayal. Yet their most enigmatic connection lies beyond the boundaries of the material plane. The far realm, a place where chaos reigns and the very fabric of reality frays, calls to them. It is both their origin and their ambition, a reminder of a time before the gods imposed their will on existence. Whispers speak of experiments and rifts, of plans unfolding in the depths to reclaim what was lost. Aboleths are not creatures of the past. They are creatures of memory, and memory is eternal. In their depths, they carry the weight of countless ages, schemes unbroken by time. The waters they inhabit are still, but stillness hides motion beneath. The existence of Aboleths serves as a dark reflection of memory and ambition. They teach us that knowledge is both a weapon and a burden. To remember everything, to carry the weight of countless ages, is to risk being trapped by the past, unable to adapt, unable to forget. Thank you for watching the video. Please comment below if you have any topics you would like to see. We have more videos planned, so like and subscribe to make sure you watch those when they release. Thanks to our members, DJ and Alberto. See you all on the next video.